This pale blue dot, third rock from the sun, a water planet, unbelievably can get to temperatures as cold as Mars. Here, I'm going to show you something. This here is a small town. It's now called Quinte West on the map, but everyone still knows it as Trenton. There's where the Canadian Forces base is, CFB Trenton. You can see over here is the Air Museum with all kinds of old planes of different cool kinds. We have an Aurora, we have a 707, we have a Herc, a Challenger, an Argus it looks like, possibly a Chinook. This cool plane here, that's the CF-101 Voodoo, a CF-18 Hornet, an F-86 Sabre, a Spitfire, some cool World War II planes there, C-47 Dakota, looks like a CF-104 Starfighter there. Here, I should say, that's probably the CF-100 Canuck. Anyways, get the picture. That's downtown Trenton. There's another Starfighter. Downtown Trenton, there's the airbase, and some aircraft on the tarmac as well. A Globemaster maybe. Here's Baker Island. Here's where I went to cadets, air cadets at CFB Trenton. That's at base transport there. It's where 704 Squadron meets. Now we'll go to the other side of Trenton here. Up here is the hospital where I was born. Down here's a bar called the Sherwood back in the day. And my cousin Jeremy there, he was down there drinking. He was just 19 years old, just turned 19 years old, and his buddy got into a fight. He got injured somehow, so Jeremy took him up to the hospital, Trenton Hospital. And very late in the night, it was 2 in the morning or something like that, and Jeremy decided to take the shortcut home to the other side of Trenton River there. And he took this walk in through here. And you see there's a golf course here. There's a forest and a bit of a trail. And if you just cut through the forest, you can get down here really quickly off Mount Pelion Park, it's called. It's not a mountain by what you would think of, but there we have this little divot there just off the side. And that's where they found my cousin Jeremy's body. There it is. This is bad news. My God.
Falling out right now.
Anything could happen.
Get on!
Wow. I'll watch the video later.
Water.
They dry him up in this. Frozen to death, hypothermia. He was missing for a few days when they found him down there. I was playing golf with my Uncle Jack. I like to tell this story at least once a year. Playing golf with my Uncle Jack, and we looked down there once. Oh, many years ago now. Right in downtown Trenton. Right in downtown Trenton, Jeremy Haveman froze to death. Here in Wells, old Steve Brown froze to death sitting just at the end of his driveway. Thing is, you get drinking and your body temperature gets lowered and you become more susceptible to freezing. You think you're warm, but you're not. And this is, what happens in lethal, deathly Canadian cold. This is the kind of thing that can happen. People in substandard housing, people who take a walk thinking they can make it, people whose vehicles break down when they're out in a dark highway at night and not in cell service, people who are homeless. So many reasons why people get caught out in the cold. So take it seriously. Now, I don't want to hear any more of this, it's Canada, it gets cold. Like you enjoy it. Like you enjoy when Canada gets really cold. Like you wake up in the morning and say, yeah, it's -30. I was made for this. Get real, man. We all know it gets extremely cold in Canada. And it is the reality here. And if we can prevent some of the suffering or some of the bad consequences, we want to do that. And, the difference between me and you maybe is that I care about people other than myself. We'll talk about all of it today, the cold. So it's the only weather warning now or statement of any kind left in all of Western Canada is just up at the Dempster Highway there, 500 meters or less, blowing snow. You're not going to see for 500 meters there, but the Dempster Highway near the Richardson Mountains, and you go down to Southern Ontario. There's a few chances for snow this week down there. We won't talk about Southern Ontario. That's outside of our forecast zone for sure, but freezing rain warnings are going on right now in Eastern Ontario. So if you're watching, Mom, consider not driving, and maybe some snow up in the north there. Now we got the snowfall totals in from Saskatchewan this weekend. Congratulations, Wilkie, Saskatchewan.
Definitely one of the bigger snowfalls we've had out here in Saskatchewan. I'm not saying it's the biggest, but one of the bigger one-day snowfalls. It was more than they predicted.
Way to go. That's Hank Fleistra right there, buddy from our own Meteorological Report. Every Thursday night here on the channel, make sure you tune in and check out the Meteorological Report. Maybe Hank will come on this week. It's the 25th of November. It's 1:30 in the afternoon here, and I wanted to make a video at this time because this will be the warmest that we'll see anywhere get in Western Canada is right about now. For some of these places, it's a couple hours ahead of us. So yeah, it's almost nighttime for them maybe. In the Manitoba side there, we still got minus 16s, minus 12s reported, even in the very south end of Manitoba, minus 7, some 14s over by Brandon. So our buddy there, Justin Ordle from Weather Center Manitoba, getting some of the cooler temperatures that are to be found in southern Manitoba. Kindersley, Saskatchewan, hitting minus 21. That's pretty close to Wilkie. And if you go far enough north, up to almost minus 20, that's Stony Rapids, northern Saskatchewan. We do have minus 20s in Alberta, and even Dawson Creek right now at this hour reporting minus 23 at 1:30 in the afternoon. 120 reporting at Mackenzie, 14 below. Quesnel reporting minus 9. You can see the real drop in temperature as you go farther north. Kamloops only at minus 1 right now. And Castlegar sitting still, maybe just above 0, reporting 0, 1 degree, something like that. So kind of get the picture. And if you go far enough up to the north, Watson Lake sitting minus 26 in Rabbit Kettle, and so forth and so on. Where the cold is warmer than you would expect at this time of year up in the far north. It's still quite cold up there by what we would consider cold for most of us. And when I look at the greater picture, the bigger picture, this is the jet stream here. I see an encouraging thing, that chance that maybe we'll see snow. There's still model disagreement. The GFS is still saying, no, we're not really going to see snow in BC during the week. And ECMWF and the Canadian model as well are both saying, yeah, we are going to. But you look at GFS's own model here for the 500 millibar heights for the jet stream, it seems apparent to me that they are expecting that to push up again. So we'll watch it here and talk it through. Our jet stream is sitting quite far south. See all that cold air. And look at that. Look at that. Cutting the province almost right in half. There's a big push, and then into the weekend comes. So are the weather that everyone kind of agrees is going to happen in one way or another, although maybe not this firm agreement on how. The timing still may be up for debate, but they seem kind of firm on this. And I'm going to go with the Canadian model to guess on what's going to go on for Canada. And ECMWF seems to more or less agree. So we see that low sliding down Thursday, maybe Friday. We're catching the precip into southern BC. And that's all before the actual show shows up. And that may be Sunday. It starts to really hit into the coast. And we'll start seeing in northern BC first, and then we got that typical down the Rockies kind of thing that's going to happen, and down the coast mountains as well. Watch how the low spreads itself out. Boom, there you go. So maybe Sunday, Monday next week, you start seeing some rough traveling through the passes down there for a day or two. But this is good, because maybe we'll come back into, and then maybe a bigger event quite a ways out now. We're looking 10 days out, so don't be very skeptical or hesitant to believe this too much. But models seem to be in agreement that warmth will return to southern BC, and this would be one mechanism by which that would sort of happen. And I think more or less the picture points to an expectation that one way or another the specific pounding will commence again. For how long, we'll have to see once we're into December, I guess. Thanks to my friends here in Wells, BC, Diggy's Diner, for buying me the weather station. And we're actually getting up to a nice minus 5 this afternoon. The sun's poked through. Maybe I spoke too soon. It just dropped down a couple points there. Okay, but very high pressure, 105.76 hectopascals. That's pretty nice. And, of course, not much for wind, just a little breeze. We haven't had much for wind lately in the valley, and that's evidenced by the fact that all the trees around here are completely snow-laden. We did have a low last night of minus 11, so we got kind of lucky. That cloud deck sat on us all night long and kind of kept us warm, and it's just finally starting to see some sunshine poke through, and that concerns me because that means we will inevitably see the cold. If you don't want to hear it from me, here's someone else to say it. The offshore low departs, a northwest flow aloft develops. An upper low complex situated southwest of Vancouver Island is continuing to spread snow to southern BC today. I think that's pretty much over. The snow will taper off later today as the low gradually weakens and moves southwards. An Arctic ridge continues to push southward to northern BC, bringing strong outflow through the northwest coastal ranges and central coast ranges this morning. The strong winds will ease by the afternoon. That's probably the case. A change in the weather patterns expected with a cool northwesterly flow aloft developing on Tuesday. This pattern will be in place for the rest of the work week. Disturbances riding down the northwesterly flow will spread periods of snow and flurries to the coastal interior ranges Wednesday and Thursday. So they seem to agree with the bigger picture as well. They're not saying Thursday, Friday, like some of the models suggest. They're saying Wednesday, Thursday. So, but they may be including the North Coast mountains when they say that. So we'll extrapolate that probably Thursday is when most of us will see that. The initial guidance suggests the highest snowfalls looks like it will be over the North Rockies and the Columbias. And when we have a look across Western Canada tonight, what do we think we're going to see tonight? Oh, maybe a little bit of mercy at 1 in the morning BC time. It'll be extremely cold, minus 27 in Saskatoon, most likely, and even into the low teens in through central Alberta, mid-teens in other places through there. Regina hitting minus 23. Very, very cold. Fort Nelson at minus 20. Fort St. John, you might get a little brief respite, and some of that colder air looks like it's going to be making its way into the north central part of BC, where it's going to hang around there just a little bit. Look at kind of the afternoon on Tuesday, still minus 22 in Saskatoon. Very cold. Meadow Lake at minus 18. Very cold. Daytime high, right? So it doesn't get better than that. That's crazy. And now we see the real flow establish itself. Watch, here's that high sitting up there, and it's just going to dump and dump and dump down that high. And I don't like it. No, I don't at all. I think this is really terrible news. But for us in BC, at least, it seems to be kind of nice that we are finding ourselves with some coastal flow, maybe some of these storms. Here's this low, maybe already on Wednesday. This model, this version of ECMWF is saying, so maybe already on Wednesday. Northern BC seeing that snow, a little bit down the Rockies, maybe some flurries. And that would be nice. That would be nice. That would bring snow to the Caribou. That would bring snow to us in Wells. That would warm things up. That would keep things for us in BC at a much more comfortable temperature. Terrace may be taking quite a bit of snow. So this is developing kind of this picture. Some of these models, maybe we're looking at versions that are a couple hours old, and so things are rapidly evolving, right? But that cold spilling into Alberta Thursday, spilling deep in, and just sort of a second round down to Saskatoon. Fort Nelson at minus 23, so that's not too bad. And look at this, if we get lucky and have that weather push enough, and Prince George is at minus 5 overnight on Thursday, oh, that would be so good. Not so lucky for the far north. And then coming closer to the weekend, that cold, oh man, just bitter cold, really aiming at Saskatchewan, especially northern Alberta in the 20s, Saskatoon hitting 31 at night. Those kinds of temperatures, very stupidly, insanely cold. So this is a positive update for us. And look, we even see the warm bouncing in sooner than yesterday's models showed. So this is a positive development, I think, for us in BC. And it's all because of this sort of developing sneaky system that we didn't really know for sure was going to be there even a day or two or three ago. And now we have a better picture of it. And I think it's good news. It's a lot of snow. That might mean for some messy travel. So it's choose your poison. Do we want the snow or do we want the cold? You know, and I want the snow personally. This looks really good. This looks good for us in Wells. It looks good up into northern BC. I want more snow because that'll end our drought, our crazy, stupid, insane drought that lasted a couple years and is effectively over. Sure. Look at bigger snow Thursday night in the northern BC. So, I think tune back in with me here tomorrow because we're probably going to see by then a better picture of what this could mean. We got a real good chunk of flow of moisture available to sort of pour on in, and maybe this would be saving grace to bring some big snow into northern BC, into the coast, into the mountains. Oh yeah, and by the weekend. So I like this. I like this model. I'm cheering for this. I'm hoping for this. This is what we want. Bring it on. Bring it on. We're hoping for snow. Bring it on, because that cold is just a little too much. And this would be a big return to Pacific flow, it looks like to me. Like, really, it's just, wow, maybe are we looking at atmospheric river at the beginning of December? Well, we'll see. Well, I think that's pretty good news for us. That seems to be an improvement from what we were looking at yesterday for a lot of us in BC. Maybe not near as much for the far north, and it's still going to be chillier than chilly. But hey, I'll take the snow. I'll take the snow. That means it's going to be warm. That's great news. That's great news. Let's have a look at some funny top stories of the day. Our friend in northern BC, Andrew, is reporting a deer has been seen. He's wearing a high-vis jacket, and it's raised some concerns and questions in this BC village. That's McBride, BC, just over the mountains from me. It's just over that way, actually. And so this deer's wandering around, and someone said to me, is it someone's pet? Is it, what's the story on this? I said, I don't think anybody knows why this deer is more highly visible to traffic and warmer. I never really like divisive arguments like this because most of the people who make them have absolutely no interest in actually helping anybody. And that's my favorite thing when I'm standing there with my kids paying for groceries that with money I don't have. Groceries I can't afford. And if you want to just give away all your medical data to Elon Musk, go on over to X and just give him your medical data. That's a great idea, I think. Yeah, and also make sure to sign the form that says he can harvest your organs anytime that he wants to eat them. This truck was stuck at an underpass in Sudbury, Ontario this weekend, and I've been to Sudbury many, many times. In fact, my children's grandparents live there. I've been to Sudbury, staying at their place. I've been downtown Sudbury many times. I'll tell you, this is the only underpass in all of downtown Sudbury. Meanwhile, up in the Pine Pass this weekend, some carnage was to be found there. Some trucks spilled, some different accidents. Good thing that some of the negative weather is over in terms of snowfall. But now that we have the cold, do remember a small accident can leave you out there in very, very cold temperatures, especially in places like the Pine Pass, where we're going to see very cold temperatures at night. So take extra care, everybody driving through there, and pay attention to the sides of the road. You never know when someone you might just catch. I've heard of this before, where someone just happened to catch the glint of a vehicle buried in the snow on the side of the road, and that's what saved somebody's life. I wonder how that Taylor Swift concert went anyways. People think I'm supposed to like her. I mean, meanwhile, Swift is flying around in aircraft. She's one of the most polluting people on planet Earth. And life in Canada is pretty harsh. Even in Nanaimo, it can be pretty tough at this time of year. And if you got to do what you got to do to survive, I think that's reasonable. Well, I just want to thank people like Maureen, Barb, Gerd, people who've come and tried to do what they can to support the channel. Thanks for the direct donations, people out there, people who've left a super in the last few days. Actually, here's a great example. Thanks for all you do, Joey. You're hands down the best weather channel in Canada. I don't know, but thank you. I shared you with all my friends and family, especially the ones on the island. That's super appreciated. Thanks to you, they're able to get prepared for the beast of a storm. That's the one that just happened last week. Keep doing all that you do. BC needs the Bad News Show, and Canada just needs you. Anyways, all support and help is truly appreciated around here. We're trying to get the word out about the weather, trying to have a good laugh while doing so, trying to be lighthearted, trying to be relevant to people in rural places in Western Canada that don't get coverage all the time. Sometimes you don't get the big picture enough. You get the short news blurb on the Weather Network, this or that, or on the news at night, but you don't get to really dive into the big picture and what's fully going on, right? So, and the developing and escalating understanding we have every day of what the forecast is going to look like down the road, right? So we see some changes today from yesterday. Some of those are positive changes for BC, depending, whether you like snow or not, I guess. Whether you like snow better than cold. For those of you in Saskatchewan, it's not really a change at all. It's just more confirmation that the bitter cold's coming to you. So that's the Bad News Show for today. And I just want to point out that our new awesome podcast, it's not new, it's been on for many years now, but it's on this channel here Thursday nights, and guess what, we are now being seen on TV in northern British Columbia as well. So we're not just on C4 Radio, CKUW Radio, CFBX in Kamloops, and Rogers TV across Vancouver Island. Now we're also being seen on more stations. I know Prince George is one of them, so I don't know if this is the timing or the schedule for I don't know what the schedule is, but maybe check your local cable listing and see for yourself. You might just catch us on there. Other than that, have a great day, everybody. Bye now.